Good afternoon, good morning. This is Mark Johnson from Loyalty360. Hope everyone's happy, safe, and well. I want to welcome you back to another episode of our Loyalty360 Leaders and Customer Loyalty series. In this series, we talk to the brand leaders about what they are seeing and hearing on the front lines of customer channel and brand loyalty. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with some great folks from Casey's, which is the third largest convenience retailer. We have Katie Petru, who's the Director of Communications Community, along with Mike Templeton, who is the Director of Loyalty and Digital Marketing for Casey's, which has more than 2,300 stores, which is great to hear. So thanks both of you for taking the time to talk to us today.
Yeah, excited to be here.
First off, we always like to start off, get to know the people we're interviewing on a more personal level. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and all that you do at Casey's, both of you? We can start with Katie.
Yeah, happy to. Yeah, thanks for having us, Mark. So I lead our communications team, which spans kind of all the different things you think in communications, from internal, focus on our team members, to external, brand, PR, as well as our corporate communications, and then our community giving element as well, which is a special priority for Casey's, as you know, we really view ourselves at the heart of our communities.
Okay, great. And what about you, Mike?
Yeah, so I lead our digital marketing and guest loyalty teams. So, paramount to that is the Casey's Rewards program, sort of the day-to-day operations of the loyalty platform, as well as sort of all of the digital inputs that go into that. So the emails we send to guests, text messages, push notifications, and social engagement, which is great, way to keep up with folks engaged with the loyalty program.
Okay. Can you give us a short history of Casey's, kind of all that you guys do and all that you offer? Most people, or some people, may not be familiar because traditionally you've been more West Coast. I know you're rapidly coming to the East Coast. But if those who may not know Casey's, there may not be any, but what do you guys do and how do you do it?
Sure, I can start with some highlights.
Okay.
In terms of, our company, a little of our history and a few highlights along the way that we like to emphasize. So we're, just over 60 years old.
Okay.
Born out of Boone, Iowa, actually. So our founders, opened the first store in Boone in 1968. And then from there, we've grown to actually now, with a recently completed acquisition, we're over 2,300 stores. We're the third largest convenience store. And we're right in that Midwest heart of the country, and then get a little more into the South. So one of our acquisitions is taking us deeper into states like Oklahoma, for example. And I think one of the things that I'd, highlight, I mentioned being part of the heart of the community, and I'm sure we'll talk about that as we talk about building loyalty with our guests. But in early 80s, we introduced our famous pizza. It's made from scratch dough. We have kitchens in our stores. We're making pizza as well as other delicious prepared foods. And that's a key differentiator for us. And so, our pizza in the early 80s. So we've been doing that for a long time. And then introduced breakfast pizza in 2001. I'd like to think that we kind of came up with breakfast pizza. So that's a very passionate fan following. And then, of course, we have our strong fuel business. We have our convenience and, that grocery fill-in stop and convenience offering. And then we have this really special prepared food offering. And, I think Rewards is one of the newer programs in our digital transformation. Mike, do you want to hit a little bit around our digital transformation?
Yeah, like Casey said, Casey's has been around for quite a while, doing a lot of good things, having a good business, serving guests, in their communities. But really the digital transformation probably started about 2-3 years ago, where the leadership team sort of, kind of came to grips with, look, the world is fast changing around us and we need to get caught up, right? Our guests are asking for it. And so we met with a strategic partner to sort of assess the situation. One of the things that came out of that was, we got to get going on loyalty, right? Like, we see loyalty every day in our stores, but we don't have the program and the infrastructure underneath to be able to reward guests the way that we'd like, and to understand what's happening so that we can further affect behavior.
Absolutely. That said, I would love to know a little bit more about Casey's reward program, kind of how it works, what you guys do with that, and kind of the value you're extracting from the program.
Sure. Yeah, so we relaunched the Casey's app in 2019. We had been using a white label solution before that had a button inside that clicked out to our website where you could order pizza. And all of that was sort of, part of that source of we gotta transform how we're operating here, right? So we brought it, hired several new folks into the team. We built a new app from the ground up and made it easy for people to order pizza on the app. Quickly following that was the loyalty platform underneath of it all. We launched Casey's Rewards in January 2020 with what you would say is sort of a typical type of loyalty program. People earn points for the dollars they spend. They earn 10 points per dollar, inside of the store and online. They earn 5 points per gallon out at the fuel pump. But some of the stuff that we brought that was new and that was different about it was a lot of programs that would launch, might only be in one channel or only in this channel. And we said, our guests are looking to interact with Casey's everywhere. So whether you're at the pump, you're inside of the store, or you're, ordering in the app, or even calling the store over the phone, you should be able to earn all those ways. So we brought all that stuff to market right at launch. And then the other thing that's unique is as people earn their points, they've actually got 3 different ways they can turn those into value for themselves. One is to turn it into Casey's Cash, which is the most popular option, which is cash that goes essentially back in their pocket that they can spend on the breakfast sandwich or the pizza they're going to order on Friday night. People can also turn their points into fuel discounts, which everyone loves to see that price roll back at the fuel pump after they put in their phone number. And then the third way is they can take their points and turn them into a donation to a local school. So we've actually got on file about 36,000 schools, public and private, K through 12, where as people accumulate their points, they can turn that into a cash donation to a school. And we pay that out twice a year to help with supplies, projects, et cetera. Putting that back to the hands of teachers and administration in ways they can use it to better their community.
That's awesome. When you look at some of the changes you made, you talked about them, the app, making the program more robust, going away from the white label application. What changes have you made recently, and what plans do you have to enhance it going forward?
Yeah, I think, building that app from the ground up was huge for Casey's because we could put our guests at the center of it. We were no longer dependent on, what features was the vendor providing to us. It was all about what does the guest want and how do we build to that. So we quickly spun up, agile development teams to take in feedback, make adjustments, build out a new feature, launch it. And just a couple of the recent things we've added are things like challenges and referrals. Which are 2 things that, each that benefit the guest, but have really helped enable our teams in marketing and loyalty to get more out of the program. So the referrals is about what you'd expect, where guests now have their own personalized invite code they can use to share with friends and family. And when those folks join the program, everybody, wins. Everybody gets points as a result of that. And then the challenges side is something that we've developed where we can actually create, segmented, personalized incentives for different groups of people inside of the program. Say, hey, if you stop into the store, 5 times this week for coffee, here's what you could get as a result. Maybe somebody that's in every day, right? It looks a little bit different. And so our ability to sort of take those incentives, look at the behaviors we're trying to reinforce or grow, for the business, we can customize those based on different guests right inside of the program.
Well, that's great. I mean, community is a big piece of customer loyalty programs. Having that zero-party data, having that reciprocity, having that unique engagement opportunity you have is growing more and more importance and impact, especially with CCPA and CDPA and other kind of privacy regulations. It's great to hear what you guys are doing there. Partnerships are a big area of opportunity, kind of area of interest for brands these days. I know you recently announced a sweepstakes to win a hometown concert with Lee Brice, great artist. I like the guy. He's not Jason Aldean, but he's pretty good. Can you tell us about that promotion, kind of the strategy behind it?
Yeah, I can jump in here. So the strategic process, starts with guest insights, right? And listening to our guests. And what we heard in some of that research as we looked towards summer was, really the anticipation from the past year or so that, there's a strong desire to get out, either get outdoors, be active, be on the go again, and kind of have that free feeling that summer brings. And some of that is, just being enabled to do that because of the growing, vaccination trend and just shifts around the pandemic, right? Kind of that reopening, but guests just really looking to feel free. And then we also heard in our guest testing that, for us, they want freebies, right? They want free stuff. They want their rewards to deliver that free stuff, and it'll build engagement and build, ideally, right, the visits and transactions. So that element of feeling free and then free stuff, really was a key insight for us. And then our guests are really excited about and interested in country music, given our footprint and our guest profile. So, those were kind of the three strategic, insights that led us to this summer of freedom and really the sweepstakes at the heart of it. That's, again, then kind of bolstered by this partnership with Lee Brice and the opportunity to bring them to a hometown concert.
Okay, absolutely. That's great to hear that. Great artist. Where's the concert, by the way?
So you got to shop with rewards and earn those entries. So yeah, again, that's kind of the behavior and the opportunity we're driving, right? To connect to the store and the transactions. So when guests shop with rewards, they get another opportunity to have that hometown concert come to them. So we'll know more in early September about where Lee is coming to play.
Okay, great. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing about that for sure. Maybe I can sneak in somehow, get a little favor. I'm just kidding. So yeah, as we talk to brands, we have a large and growing brand community. We're very interested in how people and the brands define different terms and what it means to them. And obviously customer loyalty is at the heart of everything. And what does customer loyalty mean to you and to your organization?
Yeah, it's a great question, Mark. So I think for me, when I think about loyalty, I see it as that unwavering commitment from a consumer to a brand, right? It's something that you're so passionate about, you wouldn't make any other choice. You can see behind me, I have, one of my favorite brands, in the background. You couldn't give me any other energy drink and ask me to drink it, unless we're in a joint business plan meeting or something like that, then I'd be happy to on behalf of our partner. And I think aspirationally, I think our business sort of holds that same view of loyalty. But there's also got to be a sense of realism there. We know, right? We're in the convenience business. People are going to generally go, where it's convenient for them. And I think that sort of then is our opportunity as we look at, the incentives that we provide to guests, the benefits inside of our program, right, and just the experience that our team members deliver inside of the store. All of those things build towards this opportunity to foster loyalty from guests, which then translates, transactionally inside of the program, but also emotionally, into how they feel about Casey's and our brand and what we mean to them.
Right. Well, I think one thing is obviously very unique about your brand, that most or a lot of kind of the convenience retail, there's kind of a relationship with the fuel potentially and the brand itself, right? So you have that integrated, like some of the others, like the Wawas and the Sheets, where you can have that great customer experience and drive things that other brands can't, right? Some of the legacy providers, and then they have one gentleman who has a kind of a convenience store that's not integrated with the brand, right? So it makes it hard to do some things you guys do. You have great customer experience. You're focused on great product and great offerings, and that really helps drive that passion internally. And then having that connected experience is important as well, I would think. So when you look at customer loyalty, you talked about how you're using the app to buy pizza. It's definitely evolving beyond transactions. What other methods do you use to engage and reward customers? We heard about the Lee Brice offering. What are some other things that you guys do to engage your audience?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's powerful about building the app ourselves and running and operating the program is that we can customize it, in whatever way that we need to deliver on that value for the guest. And so one of the things that we've really taken heart to over here is, all of these National Day celebrations, because we operate in so many businesses. We're the pizza restaurant, we're the coffee shop, we're the gas station, we're the place to stop and pick up a gallon of milk or a loaf of bread. We have a lot of those opportunities where Casey's is relevant to our guests, every day. So whether that's things like, National Donut Day or National Coffee Day, we'll offer things where members can just come in and get a free donut or a free cup of coffee, simply by being a member inside of the program. And so, yes, we've asked them to sign up and they've got to, enter their phone number or scan their app. But we just say, look, we just want to celebrate, you and the day and our brand, together. And so those are great opportunities for people to come in and just, get the benefit out of loyalty versus always being asked to do something before they get something.
Right. That's awesome. Okay. What about technology? That's a huge area of challenge for our members, right? We have small side meetings. They talk about different technology they like or they don't like. But those who view it as a center of excellence are seeing more and more people build it in-house, right? Jersey Mike's, the interviews you do with those guys, they build everything in-house. And you guys talk about the app and how you have more control of that, especially when you're listening to your customers, makes it very impactful. What are some of the challenges you see around technology and how do you guys address them?
Yeah, I think deploying technology for the benefit of the guest is sort of what's at the core, right? Because we've all got roadmaps and wishes about what we want to enable and the new features that we want and the functionality that's there. But bringing it all back to what our guests are looking for out of the program or the experience and sort of how we deliver on that is really key. And so we've even done things where, we're the third largest convenience retailer in the United States. We actually have a user experience team here, at Casey's who does things like talks to our guests and runs focus groups and does one-on-one interviews like this with our guests to say, what's your experience like, Mark? Tim, what could be made better about how you interact and engage with Casey's? How do you use the app? What's important to you in terms of how you're rewarded or what you're looking for, from this relationship? And so I think always bringing our sort of, technology thoughts back to what's in it for the guest here. What are we trying to do or deliver for them? That really simplifies a lot of those decisions. And we know that that's what's going to make, the guest experience better, right? Is it's going to be something that they want to do. Doesn't matter how hard, we push. It's got to be something that they're interested and engaged with in order for it to be successful. So we always try to bring it back to that.
Okay. Obviously, you're putting the guest first. You talked about even kind of some of the opportunities in small town, right? It's not just the convenience store, it's the pizza place, it's the local hangout, probably part of a Lee Brice song, which is good. But that's very unique, and it gets the personalization and understanding the audience and being able to kind of engage them in a unique way. How are you as a brand looking to enhance your personalization efforts?
Yeah, I think one of the things that this digital transformation and the introduction of the loyalty program infrastructure has enabled is for us to act on personalization, right? And so the biggest opportunity for us as we think about it is how do we deliver value in every guest interaction? And that, speaks beyond just technology, right? Our team members are personalizing the experience inside of the store when they bring up, your items, and have them on the counter ready to go for you because you come in every day at the same time. They don't need a loyalty program or any sort of technology to tell that, right? That's just what they know and experience because they know their regulars inside of the store. But as we then sort of take that great experience, person to person and say, how do we use technology to scale that? How do we use the data that our guests are giving us and sharing with us with an expectation that it's going to turn into, programs, offers, promotions that are personalized to them? That's sort of then our key opportunity inside of there. And so I think it's something that, we dig in regularly about, how do we deliver on that? How do we show guests, how familiar they are to us and right. Use sort of the technology, the platform underneath to even anticipate, what it is that they're going to need or make recommendations that we know that they're going to love. That's sort of at the heart of, how personalization then comes to life in the context of our program and how we do business. Okay,
great. Partnerships, as we mentioned earlier, are more and more important. We see that going through COVID, marketers and brands want to work with other brands that have alignment, right? That can have some value, again, reciprocity, that reciprocal value between the brand. It's not necessarily you're part of maybe a telecom program where you're giving free $5 coupons to the telco, but we see it as a big area of interest, especially where there's alignment. How have you traditionally approached partnerships, and is that something you feel is going to have a kind of a larger focus, larger impact going forward?
Partnerships are incredibly important. And so I'll start off here kind of connecting to the Summer of Freedom, and, and our partnership with Lee Brice and his team, who, first of all, in even getting to Lee Brice, right? Country music, I shared kind of that insight, but then, you look across country music, right? And we're looking at that profile and who's a fit with the Casey's brand. And I'll just say, working with his team has been one, pretty easy, which, partnerships can be really difficult and complex. I would say, easy. They feel the fit as well. And so that's pretty magical. And what we're seeing in our guest response is, I would say, they see it as very authentic. But partnerships have to start with kind of what I hit on before: insight around your audience and who your guest and what you're trying to achieve, and then your strategy. So, what will compel our guests to choose Casey's is, most important. And then how can we go about driving that choice through a partnership, and then, the supporting tactics and everything kind of falls out from there. But I do think, insight and strategy is really important, as well as brand fit and working with really great partners, which I'll say is, certainly what we're experiencing with Lee Brice. So, Mike, I don't know if you want to build on kind of partnerships, beyond maybe this summer, or some of the brand partnerships, with our vendors or otherwise.
Yeah, I think that's one of the other unique positions that we're in is, we are a brand that has passionate fans around it, but we're also a brand that has many other brands within, right? And so when you think about, soft drinks, energy drinks, coffee, candy, et cetera, all of these are billion-dollar brands out there that have their own fan bases. And so when we can find opportunities to put the Casey's brand with another, power brand together, and then sort of unite, that passion between those and get activation on both sides, that's a really powerful thing. So we love finding opportunities like that and be able to work with our partners to reward our mutual guests, in those situations.
Absolutely. You've talked about this a little bit. COVID had a huge impact on marketers, brands, and individuals as well. Customers changed a good deal during COVID, and they were changing before that. How do you feel your customers are changing, and how are you as a brand so focused on customer experience adapting to that change?
Yeah, I think as we think about it, customers changing, I'd say we think about the same way that most people are seeing, hearing, and thinking about it, right? People are time strapped, which means convenience is even more of a priority and an expectation. People's time at home and with their families has become even more precious, throughout this time. People have realized maybe how nice it is to have some of that time, to themselves and with their families. People are also more conscious of all the ways they can get the stuff that they need, right? I mean, that's been our business for 60 plus years, is we're right around the corner where you can get that thing. Now there are other ways, right? And I think people have become a lot more discerning of the tools and the technologies and the ways that restaurants and retailers can get stuff to them. And so all of those we've had to sort of take into account, for ourselves, to make sure that we're continuing to adapt, our offering and how people access Casey's for the things that they need. Right. And things that's looked like over the past year, again, like a lot of other retailers, we were fast track curbside and, enable curbside pickup through the mobile app, or to extend, again, the ways that people could pay for things or earn points, again, across those channels, just thinking about constantly talking to the guests, what their needs, desires, wants were, and being able to quickly react to that stuff to adapt so that we can continue to serve them, no matter the situation.
Right. That's awesome. Katie, do you have any perspective on that, since you run communication for the brand?
I think just, building on what Mike shared, the convenient factor is kind of table stakes, right? Because there is new consumer behavior and new access points for them to find convenience. And so, being relevant, which I would say, the insights and what we're doing this summer is a good way of how we're even elevating the brand and being even more relevant to our guests, having some fun, and adding in some experiential elements, help, differentiate.
Okay, great. When you look at your customer experience, customer loyalty efforts, measurement can be a big challenge. We actually have a big metric study we're doing right now, Loyalty360, to kind of get our arms around it for the industry. So how do you guys look at KPIs? How do you look at measurement? How do you make sure things are working so well?
Yeah, so we have a lot of things over here at Casey's that we look at and measure, right? We've got dashboards, like the best of them. But I think some of the key performance indicators that we talk about sort of roll up into some key areas. Quite honestly, on a daily basis, we're talking about how many people are enrolling in the program, how many people are actively using the program, which could be using the app or actually making purchases, and then what's our participation rate at these different points of engagement. So we measure everything from how many orders are placed with a loyalty account versus how many times does somebody identify themselves inside of the store, or are they, still standing out in the cold, in the dead of winter, snows where we're at, punching their phone number in at the fuel pump. And I think, monitoring those types of things, is helpful to give us a sense of, what's the health of our program. And ultimately, if we're driving more guests to join, we're seeing them participate in store and online, and then sort of observing these increases in frequency, within the program over time, we sort of chalk all that up to success.
Okay, great. What's the next big thing for customer loyalty or customer experience? Maybe for the industry, or maybe what are some things that Casey's are, maybe looking at to drive that engagement, to drive that experience?
Yeah, I think, when I think about the next big thing at Casey's, to me, it comes back to the one thing that we're all about, which is to make life better for the communities and guests every day. There's a lot of, retailers, there's a lot of restaurants, there's a lot of loyalty programs that are out there. And what we find is that sort of the bar for experience is being set, by the guest in every new experience that they have. So we're not just in competition, with other convenience retailers. We're in competition with drugstores, mass merchants, restaurants, coffee chains, or mobile apps, right? The beauty of, the first Uber ride that I ever took, and I didn't have to pull out a credit card because you exit the vehicle and it knows you're done and you get, and the driver's paid. That's a sort of a magical experience. And people are now looking for that everywhere else. So when we talk about, when we look at it sort of through that lens from a Casey's perspective, we know those expectations are always being raised. And so we're continuing to look for those ways that we can foster deeper relationships with our guests, finding ways to show, again, how familiar they are to us. And then, the different opportunities that we can learn from, what guests have shared, how we can bring that back to them sort of in a relevant, timely way, and honestly, just improve their experience with Casey's. Because we know sort of that experience and the experience bar, if it's a miss, it's very easy to go somewhere else. So we continue to ask ourselves about the ways we can deliver that better experience for the guest.
Okay, great. When you look at your offering, as I mentioned earlier, you guys are very unique. You have a very compelling in-store offering, completely integrated, so a little different than some competitors. But you mentioned kind of a larger competitive set, which is true for most brands today as well. How do you think you are different from your competitors? And do you see kind of similar efforts in the competitive set? And what do you think sets you guys apart?
Yeah, I think first for Casey's, our brand, and we've been around for a long time, we operate at the heart of the communities that we're in. And so, that alone sort of gives us permission to even earn people's loyalty in the first place. And I mentioned this earlier, right? But we see it every day, in our stores, right? It is the place where, the person who's taking you, that's, running the register on the other side, they know who you are, not just because you're in loyalty, but there's those personal relationships that exist there, right? It's sort of that way you get your day started, or that, that hello as somebody comes in. You just don't see that everywhere. And so I think that's part of sort of the convenience experience. It's different for us. And then certainly the way Casey's delivers that, sort of stands out as a differentiator. And as we take that now and try to extend that into things like the Casey's app and all these other digital types of experiences, that's really our opportunity, is to say, how do we take that that thing that they know and love about Casey's in a store environment and extend it into all the ways they interact with our brand.
That's great. Katie, any follow up to that?
I think, well said. And I think the only layer I'd add, which is obvious, right, is, as Mike pointed out, just that whole like guest experience, whether it's digital channel, whether it's, from my world, right, a news article they're reading, or social content they're served up, or the in-store experience, the billboard they see, right? How is there that brand consistency, and the Casey's they know and love? It's obviously more powerful as we're really integrated in our approach, which you pointed out.
Well, that's awesome. And the last question I have for both of you is, what can Loyalty360 do to help you with your customer loyalty journey, your customer loyalty program?
Well, I love experiences like this. I've watched a handful of them myself, and I think it's great to hear from the leaders inside the business that are driving these programs. We all think that we're very different, but a lot of our problems are all the same, and so it's great to hear how different people are tackling different situations. And then the other thing, you mentioned it earlier, is I think some of these broader studies or on key issues, and be able to unpack that sort of at an aggregate level. Those types of things are really helpful, as I think we all sort of aspire to build these, bigger, better, more loved programs. The more that we can learn from each other, I think, guests will all benefit in the end from it.
Okay, great. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed this interview. I'm going to go to the Casey's right around the corner and make sure I sign up and get some fuel there, so I can hopefully get Lee Brice to Cincinnati. Yeah, it was great talking to both of you. And I think the passion you have for what you do and the passion you have for the program is great to hear. And it's not all brands or not all people who involved in loyalty programs have that, but a bigger picture customer loyalty focus, you really see that. And you guys are commendable in a number of ways. So it's great to talk to both of you.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. It was great to be here.
Absolutely.
Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks everyone for listening, and come back soon to check out another Leaders in Customer Loyalty.